What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of Coffee Q&A. This is episode number 454, and we're still continuing on with our exploration of the Oxo Rapid Brewer. And if you're just joining us for the very first time, or you're not familiar with the Rapid Brewer is something that Oxo came out with about a year ago or so. It retails in the United States for $40 US. And is this kind of light pressurized brewing device that comes in 3 segments for 4 if you include the little whatever carafe, whatever you call this. And it's recently come under more enjoyment from coffee professionals or coffee people on YouTube, at least. So since we're a YouTube channel, we thought we'd find along with it and try the different recipes that all these people are promoting. And so on this series of videos, you're going to find different brew methods for the Oxo Rapid Brew. And this is, we're continuing on with one that they call Modern Espresso. And this is a recipe that I got from Wide Awake Coffee Roasters in the Philippines. They've got a channel, Wide Awake PH. You can check them out. And yeah, so let's get into it. How y'all doing? Welcome to his show. Kent, how was things in Norway? Maku, how are things down here? Good morning to you both. So we're going to, this Modern Espresso, throughout the time, so throughout my experience in coffee, being a coffee professional for the last 20 plus years, one of the things that coffee people are always trying to do is make espresso from things that are not espresso machines. And this is, I think, one of those times, right? Like when the AeroPress came out in 2005, Alan Adler, who created, kind of touted it as an espresso machine because, you know, the AeroPress, when you're pressing down, it has pressure to it. And again, I think that because people are seeing that these Oxos have a pump, they want to make espresso out of it, when really I think they're just making concentrated coffees, because like evidently the designers from Oxo didn't want it to be too crazy as far as the pressure, so they found a way to design this pump and limit it to giving 1 bar of pressure. And if you're making espresso, traditional espresso, you really need to have like 8.5 to 9 bars of pressure, and so this is nowhere near that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think, you know, a brewer is a brewer, and a brewer does what it does, and I think it should and can be celebrated for what it is, instead of trying to like make it, you know, force your whatever you want upon it. Like, right, like if, for example, like if your child wants to be gay or trans, you shouldn't force them to be straight, and vice versa. If they're straight, you shouldn't force them to be gay or trans. Like, that's just not right. Like, you just let it be what it is and let it express itself for as beautiful as it really can be. And that's kind of my thing, right? Like, let's celebrate the brewer for the brewer and not try to make it into espresso, because espresso is a whole different thing. And I mean, and don't get me wrong. If you could develop a handheld brewer that would get pressure up to 8.5 to 9 bars, then certainly that could be espresso. But why not enjoy that? But in this case, I think we're just concentrating coffee, not necessarily providing more. But I'll let you be the judge. So we're going to try this recipe. We're going to use 16 grams of finely ground coffee. So they say to ground the coffee between, let's say, pour over, maybe that should be for you, pour over and espresso, which in reality is a very wide latitude of space for you to figure out where it should be. So you might as well just say fine. It's just grind your coffee fine. But they did offer the caveat of like trying to tune in your brew with this recipe to fit your taste, right? And that's important. Your tastes are what's important to you, because you're the one that's drinking it. In many respects, we may share coffee with friends and loved ones, but really the coffee drinking experience is a singular experience. It's only you. I mean, you could, you know, hey, try this, see what you think. But really, you're drinking it and you're making, especially if you're making 1 cup at a time, it's very singular and only needs to meet your desires. But so the idea is that if you have this coffee, so somewhere between some finer than pour over, but not so fine as espresso. So the idea is that you're going to take these 16 grams, you're going to mix it with 80 grams of water, you're going to infuse it, what he calls pre-infusion, for 35 seconds, maybe outwards to 60 seconds. So he's like, the idea is that, okay, if you do one at 16 grams at whatever grind setting you choose, and you don't like it, and it's too thin or whatever, go longer with your pre-infusion. So instead of 35 seconds, go incrementally out to 60. And then conversely, if that doesn't work, then you want to go finer with your just had to turn off an alarm. If you want to go finer, when you go finer, then go back to your 35 seconds and then work your way back up to a minute, depending on, you're trying to dial it in, and that's the way they recommend dialing it in. So, yeah, there that is. But, yeah, that's, I don't know what the but is for, but that's pretty much the way that Wide Awake has said to do this Modern Espresso. So we're going to try this Modern Espresso and see what we're going to get. So they also said that, so here's the thing. They're brewing this with 16 grams of water, 16 grams of coffee, 80 mils of water. And then they're making it 35 seconds with, 35 seconds, put the cap on, 35 seconds. And then after 35 seconds, pump, wait 5 seconds, pump, wait 5 seconds, pump. And you keep pumping until you've expended the water through the coffee bed. The water is still precipitating through. So even in their video, I think he only pumped it once and he was like, oh, I'm already done with it. I don't know what the pumping is really doing. Like it's just pushing it at the end. But anyway, the coffee, so they're also using the AeroPress filter as an additional filtration method, which in our previous 2 days of testing with this, or playing, not testing, we're really just playing with it. Without using paper filters, the metal filter here at the bottom does allow minor sediments as well as the coffee oils to come through, which, like if you're used to French press coffee, it gives you a little bit more richness, a little bit extra body, where this one, by using a paper filter, it should thin it out. And Naomi was right yesterday. She mentioned about about using a paper filter, the AeroPress filter. And we didn't in yesterday's brew, but I did realize that in yesterday's brew, the turbo brew, they did use it in their example. I just didn't realize it at the time and totally missed that detail. So if you want to use paper filters, then there's the AeroPress filters, which are kind of very ubiquitous. And then there's an Acer filter, which I still haven't looked up in the last couple of days online. But there's Acer filters, which are thicker than these. But who is it? Maybe it was Kent that said if you just doubled them, you can simulate the effect of the Acer. So if you want to double them up, if you want to get all of whatever's coming through out, then perhaps that might be the way to go. It will also retard the water flow through the filter, which should help the brew, I think. So, yeah, there it is. If you have any questions, Coffee Cove, good morning to you. If you have any questions, please let me know as we go along. We're going to go along with it now. Oh, water needs to be turned on. Some days I'm really good at turning on the heat for the water, and some days I totally don't remember to do it. Okay, so it's a bit too far away. Okay, here it is, the Oxo Rapid Brewer. We've already gone through the top, center where you put the water in, and then, of course, our lower basket. This has a little tamper. I don't really think I think this is just superfluous, to be honest. Now that we've been using it for several days, I'm finding this to be superfluous. Like yesterday, I did something where I was holding I hardly put the coffee in, tamped it down, and then reassembled it. Then I tilted it, and I was like, oh, I should probably do that. And but we thought we'd have a look, and it by the time I rotated back, it did fall back relatively low, but you could tell that it's moving. And then you look, and it's moving in there. So what is superfluous? Perhaps it'll get better. Maybe it'll stick better if you super fine grind like espresso. When you're tamping down your espresso, it does relatively stick together. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking for points to complain about. But let's get to our coffee. So we're going to take this. I don't know what we're doing. Oh, before we begin, we're going to take our paper filter and we're going to put that here in the bottom. Paper filter. AeroPress, standard AeroPress filter, they say will fit perfectly in here. It's not a perfect fit. Like, it's a little bit tight. Like, you can see that it's crimping. My concern with this crimping is that it might allow, depending on the fineness of the grinds, it may allow, it could allow space for, like, there's a little gap right in this. See that one right there? I mean, could there be opportunity for the coffee to slide under? Not that it's going to get through this mesh, this perforated stainless. It's not going to get through that. But any kind of the minor sediment may come through. But I'm presuming that it's going to be very, very minor. Now, yesterday we were using our Gen 2, and we were using this 3 grind setting for Naomi, 3. And I thought the brew was bitter. And again, it's this very concentrated, almost espresso-like. It was nice, but it was very bitter. But if we're thinking about this modernist, but maybe we'll just stay here. I was going to say let's go finer, but let's stay here and see, as a better comparison to yesterday, what might be the best way. But I don't know. I'm talking too much. Let's get our scale now. Our coffee today, again, is going to be the Misty Valley from Ethiopia. This is a coffee produced by a guy that I've known for many, many years, Abdullah Begersh, one of the great coffee producers of Ethiopia. Yirgacheffe region, so quote-unquote Yirgacheffe coffee, grade 1. So if you look here, very nice, even consistency. I mean, the beans are just beautiful, just beautifully done. A fairly light roast. On my monitor, it doesn't look very light, but fairly light in person. So that's our coffee for the day. Now, this is a natural process coffee that over the last few days has given us really pretty notes of like fruit and maybe a little bit of blueberry, raisin, some Cabernet Franc notes. So a very nice coffee, Let's get into this here. Oh, turn our scale on. We're out of battery power again. Good Lord. Grams, 16 grams, right? 16 grams. I'll turn that off so preserve our battery power. What I do like is the auto stop on this grinder, so it senses the motor spinning up faster because there's no more resistance, and I guess that's how they work it. And what I really like about this coffee is that when you grind it like this, I'm standing here right by the grinder, so I'm like super close, and I just love that natural smell. I just love that kind of like jammy fruit kind of smell. To me, it's very lovely. Like I really am into it. Okay, so we're gonna get our scale again because we want to see about retention. I know you guys are very much into retention. Put our thing on there, tear it on. Kent says beans look great, very homogeneous. Yeah, I mean that's why I really think that's why I think that Abdullah is one of the better producers, so maybe one of the best producers in Ethiopia, because he really takes the time and really is meticulous in the way they process the coffees. And of course, this is the grade 1. This is their highest grade coffee. So it should be the best. And of course, every producer, including Abdullah, is going to produce a range of grades, right, to meet the needs, right? Like this is going to cost the most, right? It's got the most selection. It's got the longest time, doing everything to it. But, it's in our case, it's nice to have and a very pleasant experience. When I was at the State Fair last week for the live stream, everybody's serving Folgers. Folgere. And it's very, Folgers is a different experience. Luckily, the Folgers experience at the State Fair, they're just regular kind of people operating, regular food service. So they're not using as high or the same, they're not using the same ratio of coffee to water that we would use. So that toned down the character of the Folgers, making it a little bit more palatable and enjoyable, especially when you're having funnel cake, right? So funnel cake is always a great thing. Okay, so now here's our coffee here, 16.1. So we only put 16 in, right? So we got a little bit of coffee, probably from yesterday. So we got a little bit extra. Although I don't think we weighed it yesterday, so I wouldn't know. Okay, so here it is. We shake, and then level out the coffee. And then we're going to use our superfluous tamper to do superfluous tamping. And not a very good one because I could feel that there was slightly uneven, like it was, I could feel it just like unlowered. That's one thing I did notice. One of the guys that I watched on YouTube was talking about if you want to use the WDT rake, what are you raking? This stuff is so coarse. What is that? I was like, that's super effective. Like, come on now. Must you rake? Okay, tamp. And here's the thing: I don't even think you need to do this. Like, I think I'm doing it just because they did it. But if I was doing this by myself, no way would I do this. Is like because there's just not enough compaction happening, right? There's like you're pressing it together, but what does that do? What resistance is that really portraying? Like we've seen over the last several brews that the water just flows through. It doesn't really stop it. So I think this is a step that can be omitted. And then now we need the scale to weigh, right? Okay, so we need to put this together. So there it is. We're going to 80 grams, and we're going to need our timer. And I haven't figured out how to get the timer on this to work in conjunction with what we're doing, only because I just never think about it until we're actually doing it. And honestly, I don't have the bandwidth to sit around figuring out technology all day long. I'd rather be out cutting wood in the wood shop when I can finally escape. But today is going to be roast day, so I got to do roasting this afternoon. Timer. Okay, the timer. Put this on here. Oh no, we're going to put this. That. There we go. And then let's go to our. Okay, turn that on. Okay, the water is nice and boiling, so I'm going to transfer it to our kettle, our Kogu kettle from Japan. Is it my favorite kettle now? I mean, it's a nice kettle. It's a small kettle. I like the size a lot. Okay. All right, now we're going to add 80 grams. Now, he wasn't very explicit. Wide Awake wasn't very explicit in when they start the time. I presume that it's the moment you add it. Who knows? But that's when I normally start my timing. I'm going to pour fairly. Well, there's that. Okay, I'm going to say that's 80 grams. Add that on there. 18 seconds have gone by. So there does seem to be some reduction in the way that the water is flowing through presumably because of the AeroPress filter that we're using. Oh, and it is holding now that I've closed it. It's not holding, it's still flowing through. Like there's nothing to stop this from happening. Oh, shoot. So much for 35 seconds. Okay, so much for following the recipe. That was total disaster. But let's see what we got. We got this brew here. Power plant's with us. What's going on, power plant? Faff, too much faff. Do you mean too much talking? Yes, there's always too much talking. Power plant says, Kalita Wave kettle is super nice for coffee pouring. Oh, you mean the big one that's like copper looking with the long spout? That would be kind of fun. So we've got this small volume of coffee. Now, I only had to guesstimate the 80 grams. I might have only gotten 60 grams in there, so this could be too concentrated. We might have to do this one more time. I better plug this in. Oh man. So again, like yesterday's brew, and this seems more concentrated, but what has changed is that compared to yesterday, the fruit seems more apparent, and so it's rich, it's thick. There's bitterness, but not so. The bitterness yesterday in the turbo brew was very forward, like very, very forward with the bitterness. This particular one, my aberration, my mistake, is not so bitter. I mean, it is bitter, but the fruit seems more apparent today. Now, we're also, one thing that we need to account for or consider is that when it comes to making coffee, we're talking this one coffee. The coffee can change on a daily basis. So there's going to be some changes to the coffee. So it's not exactly apples to apples. We're not exactly comparing this. We're comparing the same coffee with different brewing methods, but we're also comparing them on different days when the coffee itself might have changed, may have different performance characteristics. Then if you're in a situation where you have varying environmental changes, that's going to affect the coffees. The high, let's say you have dry one day and higher humidity the next, that could change the way that the coffee is hygroscopic, so it will absorb moisture if exposed to it. So these are just things to consider, that it's not always, even though we're doing the same brew or the same coffee, the same batch of coffee, there can be variations that may not necessarily be accounted for solely by the method of brewing. All right, now I'm not pleased with the way that this turned out, and not because I don't like the flavor, just because I would like us to have a little bit more of a better experience with the whole accuracy of the brew, right? So let's take this apart. I'm going to show you about cleaning. So you take this off. There's just water in this part, so you don't really have to worry about this. This should be fine. It's hot water. It should evaporate fairly easily. One of the things, depending on what you're doing, theoretically, this is so small. There's so little coffee compared to the volume of the cavity that the pressures, there's really no pressure to this thing. So there's very little chance you're going to have a lot of splatter. So you may just rinse that off, or if you want to, wipe it off probably. But so all the coffee, really, all the dirt and the mess is contained here. And we're just going to knock that out. As you can see, it's fairly easy to do. Now we're just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over here to the sink and rinse it out. And then we're going to dry it using microfiber cloths. Here's a little tip for you. Harbor Freight, right? You guys might know Harbor Freight. Here in America, we have Harbor Freight. I don't know if you're outside the United States, I don't know what you have, but you can, every once in a while, and most recently, like last week, Harbor Freight had this deal. 12 of these, they're what? A foot long each? 12 by 12, a dozen 12 by 12 microfiber towels for like $3.96. It was a really good deal. Right now, I think they have a sale on the 3-pack. So if you're in the U.S. and you're looking for microfiber cloths, these are really nice. They're really nice. When we were younger, like 20 years ago, Harbor Freight was like always there, and it was always good. But it was also like you bought like the cheapest tools there because you wanted to have throwaway tools, or you weren't you couldn't afford to buy DeWalt, right? So. But now Harbor Freight has really grown up, and the quality of their tools is, the quality of some of the tools is fairly high. Like I use some of their tools. Okay, let's start this again. M0, good morning to you, man. How are you doing? Powerplant says, no, not the CU one, the C, I guess that means the copper one. Okay. Acronyms. Sometimes I don't really understand acronyms. The one that the wave is the wave one is the stainless steel and follows the same design language as the SS wave cone. Okay, gotcha. Keith is with us. What's going on, Keith? The plastic shower screw has already cracked on mine. Oh, really? I used it just once. Well, you know what, man? If you've got the guns, you need to be careful. Like, you guys with guns, man, you guys are all like, just, and stop showing off for the women. Don't do that. When I'm around my girl, I'm all like that too. I'm all like, hey, baby, make you some coffee. I'm going to pump you some coffee. And then that's when you crack your stuff. Be careful. Pump gently. Don't pump too much. Don't pump too hard, right? These are always great rules to follow in life. PowerPoint says plastic on something that is going to be under pressure sounds like a bad design. I think finesse. We need more finesse in the world. Keith says, I never had an issue with cracking on the AeroPress, and I believe the pressure is higher when plunging. Yes, I do think that the AeroPress is higher in plunging. Because, you see those guys, and they're just like I watch some of the AeroPress guys, and they're like, wow, man, you guys are really like pressing that AeroPress. Like, they're just like mashing on it. Like, whoa, man, take it easy. Proplan says, finding good microfiber cloth is tough. Too many of them leave little fibers on. Yeah, these don't. That's what I like about it. Like, look, there's no. That's why I was surprised. Like, the Harbor Freight. I was like, Harbor Freight? What? Harbor Freight? Okay, let's try this again. We're back with our scale. This time I have it plugged in, so we will have hopefully no more of these issues. And maybe we can see about this, what do you call it? This retention issue. Oh, 16. Okay, whatever. Now we're going to. I'm actually going to try this setup. Our Oxo. I'm going to take the Oxo with me on Saturday. Saturday, I'm going to the Maryland Renaissance Festival, where we're going to do the Renaissance thing. And I need the scale. We need the grinder. Okay, nothing inside. So I'm curious to see how it's going to work out in the field. I mean, not that we're doing. I sit in my truck and I make coffee. It's not very challenging or anything. All right, let's get our coffee here. And then put this down. Tear that out. Okay, there we go. Check that out. So 16 grams. Okay, good. We have zero retention. Very nice. Very nice. It's not. I never would check retention before. Like this is totally like doing the live stream thing has caused me to do this because of you guys, right? Because of you. Paige is with us. Good morning, Paige. I use microfiber cloths from Harbor Freight for my coffee. See? Awesome people know awesome things, right? Keith says, sorry, not the screw, the shower screen with the dots. Oh, okay. Yeah, this part. So you cracked it here or cracked it here? Either way, man, that's quite impressive. That's quite impressive. Okay, so we need the tamp. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know why we're tamping. This is just superfluous. It really does nothing. Like, for example, if I was to, well, I guess it does something. I'll see it does. Okay, that was a fail. Okay, here we go again. We're going to start again. Okay, that's kind of irritating. Okay, let's go back one more time. 16 grams. We'll go fast now. Okay, we're not going so fast. 16. One thing to keep in mind, whether you're a home enthusiast or if you're a working professional, like in this case, I made a little mistake, so I have to recorrect them. And I'm trying to go a little bit faster here. Like, if you ever get to a situation where you're like trying to go faster, be careful, because when you go faster, like as I was pouring this, onto the scale, I was thinking, this is going to be the moment when I go too fast and I make a mistake and then I spill it and then I have to do it all over again. So one of the things that I teach baristas that, if they ever get to the point where they're getting caught in the weeds, and at some point, especially if you're a professional, and even if you're a home enthusiast, like, you have 4 friends that are over your house and they're like, hey, can we all get cappuccinos? And you're trying to make 4 cappuccinos on a single group espresso machine. That gets to be a little bit stressful. And so what I always teach baristas is that, if you get to the point where you feel like you're rushing because you're under the pressure, stop. Stop for a moment, regroup, and then slow down and be more deliberate in your actions, right? Really stop to think and like go with a deliberate pace. Because, that's going to be, the faster you go when you're under stress, that's the time when you're going to make the mistakes, and you're going to create more issues for yourself, and you're going to dig yourself more into a hole. And then, and I think everybody here has done that in some form or another in their professional lives, whatever your professional life may be. You're trying to get so much done, and you're compounding the issue by making mistakes that have to be corrected again. And so this just reminded me that if you're working and take your time. Don't rush it too much. Okay, so we've got, well, that's 15.8. What is going on here now? Well, I'm going to grind a little bit more. Just okay. There we go, 16. That was easy enough. I just grabbed a pinch. And you know what? I used my many decades now of sensory coffee science technology just to pinch and just get the right amount. There's 0.2 grams to put in there. See, this is why you tune in. This is why, or sometimes. Okay, so we've got the coffee, and it is now all nicely there. Let's tamp. Let's do the superfluous tamping. Let me shake a little bit more. See, if I have the portafilter, I can turn it over. Oh, look at that. Now there's more static. What is going on here? This is what happens. You make mistakes, and then everything goes haywire. Okay, so we're going to add this. The water is boiling at a very, very angry rate. Put all this together. We're going to do 80 grams of water, 35 seconds. You know, I'm not even going to bother. Well, you know, I will transfer it to the. I was going to say I wasn't going to transfer it to this, but what I like about transferring it to a pouring kettle is that it, straight from boiling, it does help to bring the temperature down. Probably not as dramatic as it would the first time, because unlike the first time, this kettle is now still kind of warm from the first pour, rather than being totally room temperature cold. Okay, here we go. 35 seconds. It's going to pour pretty hard with this thing. '81. Put this on. We're going to close the valve. So this has taken us almost 20 seconds to do it completely. I guess we can. So it's kind of holding. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's still falling. All right, let's 32, 33, 34, 35. Now, 5-second intervals for pumping. 40. There was 40. I think it just cleared itself. Yeah, it's totally clear now. So 2 pumps, just over 2 pumps, 45 seconds or so. 49, 82 is where I stopped it, but really it was a little bit faster than that. One of the nice things about this Oxo that I'm kind of noticing is that, like, there's a lot of surface tension when you're using the AeroPress. So when you pick it up, the surface tension will keep a bit of coffee right here. And if you just pick it up and you move it, like, it's dripping coffee everywhere. Gosh, it's irritating. So I always learned how to tilt it so that the surface tension will be released and it would just kind of flow in there, and you get a little bit, and you wouldn't get as much mess. All right, let's look at our coffee now. Here it is. Keith says, good vibes here. Hope you are having a good day. Thank you, Keith. Paige says, my friend that lives in Maryland went to this past. Oh, nice. M0 says, yes, things are going well here as well. Good. Love the coffee and life conversations. Fantastic. Every man's bartender brewer has a major vibe. Oh, yeah. We try to make, as a barista, we try to make a nice vibe, you know, for people to come in and enjoy their coffee. I think that's super important. Like, you want to have a place where people can be welcome and, like, feel comfortable. Although at Spro, sometimes we were probably not very good at that, because, you know, people would come in and they would see, like, this very different kind of coffee experience that kind of looked like a mad scientist kind of place, which was pretty intentional at the time. And it would be off-putting, it would be uncomfortable. And part of that, again, was intentional, because we wanted people to know that this is not the same kind of, like, coffee flop house that you may have been used to. This is a place for you to try to engage with serious coffee. But it was also an environment where you could come in and it was quiet. There was no music. There was no, like, not too many distractions, and sit down, enjoy your coffee, or enjoy conversation with your friends. That's what we really wanted. We wanted conversation with friends. We never had Wi-Fi. So you could never come. You could come in and we never had a ban on laptops. If you wanted to bring your laptop and come in and do work, you're more than welcome to do that. But we didn't have Wi-Fi for you to use. That's probably changed in 2025. Like, I mean, people have, like, all kinds of, like, you know, hotspots, and that's what if I had to do it, that's what I would do. All right, let's the babble. The faff is, you know, too much. So let's see. Here's the elixir. So one of the things that I've noticed about these two brews, because we're using the AeroPress filter at the bottom, the clarity of the coffee is greater than yesterday's brew, the turbo brew, without, right? So when we put the light on it yesterday, we would see a lot more cloudiness. This is definitely, the clarity is better. It's not perfectly clear, but probably regular brewed coffee isn't either. So, all right, let's give it a taste, or let's. I think this one gave a little more fruity notes, on the nose. Okay, so with this brew, so definitely this brew, our first one, where we kind of lost the power for the scale, so I kind of had to freehand the amount of water, because it cut out. For those of you just joining us, this brew cut out at 20 seconds. On the scale died at 20 seconds. 20 milliliters of water as I was adding. So I just kind of added. I kind of guesstimated, so probably 60. So this is definitely more concentrated and had more fruit forwardness on the palate, where this one is brewed to the specification of the recipe. A little, the bitterness isn't so much, but the astringency has tripled. Like, it's very astringent. The fruit tones are non-existent. So this is the idea of this brew, is that it's supposed to be modern espresso, right? Trying to create espresso, trying to create love out of nothing at all, right? That's what this is all about. So you've got this kind of espresso. Actually, as an espresso, I think yesterday's turbo brew was a better representation of espresso than this. But perhaps, I mean, the wide awake guys are the new generation of coffee professionals, and so they're all in love with the geisha and all the light, bright stuff. So this probably, if you're a light, bright coffee drinker, this is probably right up your alley. The astringency is like very forward. The coffee is still very clean. The coffee has nice characteristics, as far as like no defects and all that kind of thing. Because, well, of course, it's a nice quality coffee, but yeah, it's got the thickness. No, I was going to say it's not thick, but it definitely has a richness of flavor of the coffee itself. It's not thin by any means, but it just has a very strong astringency, brightness, acidity on the very forward, very out front. Where this one, with the lower ratio of water to coffee, it doesn't have that. And that's just a matter of having how much water you're adding to it. M0 says, I struggle not to talk about certain things. Oh, yeah. The editing is always the hard part. I always think that it's good to subtract, right? Whether we're doing coffee or woodworking or any kind of pursuit, especially in conversation, I always try to remember to subtract from what I'm saying. Like, I'll sit around and I've always been an opinionated kind of person that was more than eager to share my opinions with people. And I remember there's been many occasions now that I'm older, right? Right now I'm 56 years old. I'm very old. But I remember there was times that over the last, let's say 20 years, especially when I'm hanging out at cigar shops. You'll hang out at a cigar shop and there'll be a younger guy, right? A young guy comes in and he's like, nice guy, nice enough. They're always nice enough, but they come in and they have some experience and they like to pontificate about that experience. And they like to, and when you're young, and I don't necessarily mean that it's just because you're young as an age, but you could just be young in your pursuit. And I think we've talked about this before. I believe that the first 5 years in any pursuit is the dangerous year, because you're so eager to learn. So you're absorbing so much. Like right now in woodworking, I have been absorbing so much knowledge. The precipice that you stand upon when you're absorbing all this knowledge, because you're so excited about your pursuit, like people that are in coffee, is that you want to pontificate about it. You want to tell people what it is, right? And when you're new to pursuit, you tend to be so excited that you want to talk about things in superlatives. Like, this is the way it is, right? And I remember sitting there at the cigar shop, listening to the guys talk, and and that's the one thing about experience. That it just kind of mellows you, and you're just kind of Yeah, dude, sure. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, this must have been what I was like to experience. This experience must have been what it must have been like for some people to experience me when I was in my 20s, pontificating about whatever ridiculous this was. And I remember one time I was like, this one guy really just like a little bit too much. I remember, but I was thinking, I think I was exactly like that when I was young. So next time I saw my dad, I was like, Dad, I want to apologize to you. He's like, for what are you talking about? He's like, for what? I said, there must have been many times when I was young that I must have been pontificating about something. And you must have been like, look at this little mother. And I was like, all right, for those times, I have to say, I'm really sorry about that. So, and that's one thing. So with the subtraction part, like what I try to remember, what I always try to remember when I meet new people, especially I'm in a crowd or whether it's professionally in the coffee sphere or not, I try not to talk much, right? Like people may think that I'm an a-hole, right? Like they may think that. I think that it's my job not to confirm that, right? That's why, like I remember one time I was at a trade show, this is 2004, I was at a trade show in Washington, D.C. It was the one that happens around the country, Coffee Fest. Coffee Fest came to DC in 2004, I think it was, or 2005. And there was this guy that I knew that wanted to get in the industry. He was an enthusiast. Like, God, this guy talked too much. Like he was a customer. He talked all the time. Like he would come. He's one of those guys that when they walk into the shop, you're just like, oh God, here we go again, right? Because he's going to be there for an hour, talking incessantly about who knows what, and it was stuff. And it's always stuff. And you're the kind of guy, the person that wants to talk about something that is only talking about things to puff himself up, and you're like, oh God, it's very taxing. And when you're in a hospitality environment, you try to accommodate people as much as possible. And you just pray to God that more customers will come in so that you can be buffered from this person. But he was at this trade show because he wanted to get into business. And I'm hanging out with Dwayne Sorensen, who owned, at the time, had started and owned Stumptown Coffee in Portland. Dwayne and I have been friends for many, many years. By that point, we've only been friends for like a year. And we were also hanging out with one of his clients, who is a really great guy who owned now I can't remember his name, 7th Street Espresso in New York City. Two really great guys. We're hanging out talking, just shooting the stuff about just personal stuff now. We're not even talking coffee. That's how well we knew each other. And so like this guy comes up and he's like, and I said, oh, because I'm trying to be cordial, like, hey, introduce you. And you're talking to guys that are like very successful by this point, working hard, doing their thing. And this guy, all he wants to talk about is trying to get into business and how he doesn't want to work too much because, he wants to hire employees to like do that. And I'm just like, dude, you just need to shut up and like be quiet. Let people like you first. Give them the option of disliking you later. Don't give it to them now. So that's what I try to remember is like, don't confirm to people that you're a disagreeable person. Like I can be very disagreeable, but I don't want to let people know that or not right away. Let them get to know me first. Let them get to like me, and then I can be disagreeable, right? That's at least that's my strategy. So if you ever meet me for the first time and I'm just kind of like, yeah, hey, how are you? I'm just being nice. Russell, good morning to you, man. How are you doing? Peter says, is the webcam working today? So far, so good. I did message my friend who's a Sony rep, and he was like, I'm not going to answer your messages because I'm too busy. Proplan says, the understanding of timing separates professionals and enthusiasts. Well, but I think that's only a necessity, or I think that's mainly a factor of what's the word? Not multiplicity, but just the fact that you're doing it all the time, right? So you have that, and you're in that environment where you have to figure out that timing, right? Whereas, if you're an enthusiast, you can take 5, 10, 15, and you take half an hour. If you're a live streamer, you can take 2 hours to make one coffee, right? So, I mean, it all depends, right? Whereas in the professional ranks, you guys will all be at the coffee shop like, oh, dude, you need to like hurry up because it's taken like 45 seconds and I've got to go to work. And rightly so. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then MZero says, same thing with the street fighters, boxers, massage. Yes, absolutely. I think everybody has those same issues to face. And Power Plant says, I don't find anything charming about getting early. I totally agree with you on that. I'm really against it. Like that's been my main pet peeve with the coffee, especially coffee world. I think it's improved in especially the last 5 years. I think it's improved. But during my time, you know, third wave time, and like everyone was like, oh, you're third wave cafe. We are third wave cafe, but we're not the third wave mentality. Like we don't have chips. We don't want baristas that have chips on their shoulders. And I would tell my baristas, you know, like I've heard baristas articulate this around the country, and they were like, they have the attitude that we know more than our customers. And I'm like, yeah, you should know more than and I would tell my staff, it's like, when we'd have discussions, it'd be like, you should know more than the guest that walks in the door. It's your job. Like that's the minimum requirement. The fact that you know more about coffee than your guest is the minimum. That's not special. That's just like what we expect at Spro. Like you're supposed to know that. You can't be as uneducated about coffee as the guest that walks in off the street that came from like Starbucks, because you're a professional, right? So I always had a hard time understanding the mentality of a lot of baristas that were like, I make coffee. Plus, we also make coffee. We make coffee for a living. It's not like, it's a noble pursuit, right? Hospitality is a noble pursuit to like care for other people, to nurture while nourishing, but like, it's not Nobel Peace Prize kind of thing, you know. At least I haven't been nominated, so, you know. Power Plant says fat doesn't mean chit-chat. Oh, okay, I don't really know what it means. It means all the extra bits when doing something like the tamping the Rapid Brewer grounds or raking the, oh, yes, okay, gotcha. We don't want to. Don't do that. Like, I only did this because, you know, if I was doing my own recipe, like I don't think I would ever use this now. I'd be like, okay, this is, now that we've used it a few times. And I don't know why all these guys who are using this thing, like, how come they haven't noticed this? Like, is it because it's there and they wanted to, like, I couldn't believe the one guy was like, yeah, you could use the WDT. I was like, what? Why don't just use the distributor and try to see? Like, I would kind of love to see that. Somebody taking it, they're in the garage. They take the distributor and put it on top of there. Right, like even if there's a big gap, it's just, hey, you can distribute the coffee. Like, what are you doing, dude? All right, very good, right on. And it should fit because the basket fits, right? The 58 millimeter VST. We're gonna try this. This is gonna be my thing now. Somebody's gonna rip me off and like make a video before this, but this is gonna be our thing. We're gonna try this after we've gone through all these different recipes and kind of like, and I've figured out what is kind of interesting. I really want to try the basket in the Rapid Brew. So let's see. We're gonna do some more tasting, and then we're gonna do some bypassing. It's very astringent, like very astringent still, even though now it's fully cooled. I'm not a fan of that. Like this whole, I know a lot of you guys are, and you know, it's not meant to be insulting to you or to emasculate your taste in coffee. Everybody's different. Everybody enjoys different things, which is why it's where we had coffees like this that we would have for guests because they enjoyed it. We would brew it in a way that would give it that kind of expression. Now I'm just going to do it by hand, by eye, because I totally forgot to put on the scale. More lemony now, so that astringency has been toned down and just kind of increased the kind of citrus, not, I guess citrusy, that lemony kind of acidity, not lemony flavor, but more lemony acidity. If you like light bright coffees, this is beautiful for light bright coffee. Beautiful. This is along more the lines of like what I would think is more traditionally or just history, you know, what I'm used to in natural processed coffees. Richer, more balanced, less on the astringent side. So we're going to bypass that a little bit. See, that gives a little more expressiveness. It brings out a little bit more of this bright character, but not too much. What I don't understand about some of these recipes, these guys are talking, let's make espresso or something like espresso, but then they want to bypass it and add water. Like, why? Why not just add all the water into here so you have the full volume, like the regular brew, right? Like the regular version, right? I don't know. All right, we've got our coffees then. Let me add a little bit of pastry. I got this pastry from a bakery called Tous les Jours. Tous les Jours, while it has a French name, is actually a Korean chain. I think they're a chain based in South Korea, but there's definitely a chain here in the United States. And this is one of their pastries. I don't know what pastry this is. I think it's an apple kind of tart. A friend of mine gave it to me. I don't really know what it is, but it was like, all right, I'm going to toss this in the freezer for a few days while I, eat everything else in the world, and then come bring it here to the show on Wednesday or Thursday. I was going to use it yesterday, but then, we had the blueberries. So there it is. Nice kind of lattice. It looks like it's puff pastry, or not, maybe not puff pastry, but laminated doughs. Let's have a look at it. I think it is apple. Yeah, it looks definitely apple. So there it is. Apple with some nuts. Looks like some sliced almonds. M0 says, love it. I'm glad somebody caught that. Powerplant says, people who drive the convo to their own experiences rather than ask questions can be annoying. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, and when you're hanging out there, or for them when you're just kind of, how do I get out of here? How do I get out? So one with my friends, I try to keep in mind that. So I'll see them like suffering, like, hey man, we need to go do this. All right, let's go. Paige says, my favorite shops here have my favorite shops have baristas that enjoy talking coffee with their customers as much as me. And I think there's a balance, right? Like at Spur, we would teach our baristas, and we would teach them as much as we possibly could about the coffee, about coffee brewing, about coffee everything, about the coffees themselves, because we wanted them to have the ability to talk about the coffee. But we would also work with them to train. The training would also include like discussions about when to talk about coffee, right? Like some places at least maybe before, but some places you go, they're so enthusiastic about the coffee that you walk up and, can I get a coffee? And they want to talk coffee to you, and they want to tell you all the details. Like, this coffee was grown at 1,500 meters, and it was, processed for 21 days, and blah, 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 blah. We fermented. And you're like, I would just like to have a coffee because I got to go to work. So our method was always to, like, if you came in you would come in, if we didn't know you, like your first time, we figured it's your first time. You're like, how you doing? You're like, can I get a coffee? All right, what would you like? And we actually had a menu of coffee, so you had to choose. So it's a little more engaging than that. But let's say you just came in, but if you said, hey, can I just get a coffee? We actually had our house coffee. That would be the default. If you didn't specify the coffee that you wanted, that would be the go-to. And you just automatically make that coffee for them, because we figured that you were someone that were new to the shops. You may not have known how we do things, that we were doing things very differently. And we make that, and we give it to you with very little muss and fuss. So you didn't have to have too much discussion about what you wanted. And we didn't really talk to you about the coffee. Like we wouldn't necessarily talk to you unless you asked. But the thing is that my belief was always that somebody comes in for the first time, they're going to be, it's just like anytime you meet someone new, you don't know them. So you're always going to be a little bit skeptical of them, because they're a little bit sus, right? You're like, okay, this guy's going to be sus, or this shop. You may have heard nice things about it. It may look nice, but you're like, it's a little bit sus. You're always a little bit sus about it, right? Because, it's always a little bit sus. So you're always like, so you try stuff. So the idea is that they come in, they drink, they take it to go. We may never even see them, what their reaction is. Like, hopefully the reaction is positive. And they're like, This is actually good. Maybe it takes them 10 times, 20 times to come in, order a coffee, drink it, leave, and maybe over that time they're like, there's something interesting about it. At some point, we hope that the guests will reach a point where they're like, hey, what's the deal with your coffee? We really like it. And the door is open. Then the engagement, I think, is much more welcome by the guests, because then they're actually curious to know about the coffee. Then you can hit them with as much information as you want because they're receptive to it. But if you just hit them right away, it's like the waterfall. You're like, oh, God, what am I doing with this thing? Power Plant says, remember when AeroPress packaging said bees? I remember the espresso part. Oh, best espresso I ever had. Naomi's here. Naomi, how are you? Don't worry, if you ever go back to watch the replay, we did tell you we're grinding at the level 3 on the Gen 2. Power Plant says, Tous Les Jours is a nationwide cafe and bakery in South. Okay, it is, okay. I was pretty sure it was. I just couldn't remember if it really was or not. Russell says that in California, that bakery is in H-Marts. Oh, interesting. Here, we don't, here, at least in Maryland, in Baltimore, they have their own separate look. Well, I think there's only one or two. I like Tous Les Jours. Like I will, if I'm out where it is, I will go there and buy stuff because I think their bakery products are quite nice. And when this one is a little bit, it has been in the freezer for 2 days. So the crumb is harder. The laminated dough is a little bit harder. It should. I mean, surprise! I just microwaved it for 40 seconds. I didn't really heat it correctly. I probably should. A little bit pressed for time. So, but sweet. Actually, the filling is very sweet. I've not had this one. Kind of like honey too. It's nice, but maybe a little bit too sweet. Like if I had this with a sweet latte, it'd be too sweet. Power Plant says SoCo has several nationwide bakeries. Oh, okay. Awesome. No baked goods, meaning pick and pay style. Well, are you using like Siri to talk to the machine, I don't know what that means. Oh, I missed your last comment. Oh, it's weird to me it's weird to me that Japan doesn't really have nationwide bakery cafes. They mostly have restaurants that serve coffee, like Komeda, Dotur, Saint Mark, and they are all sit-down places, no baked goods. Really? That's interesting. There was a bakery when I was living in Honolulu. It's closed now. There was a bakery that I thought had like some locations in Japan, maybe not a huge chain. But I love their shokopan. It was a bakery called Saint Germain, and I thought my understanding was that there were locations in Japan itself, but I don't know. No baked goods meaning pick and paste. Okay, huh? I didn't know that. I had never even noticed. But I gotta say, a lot of these Japanese places that I've been to when I was in Tokyo and around the surrounding areas that we did get baked goods. I really like. There's this one place called Pico Pico. I think it was Pico Pico, way out in like Sumida, not Sumida City. One year I was out there and I was like, I heard about this rice, Edo rice, like rice that was grown in the Tokyo district. They had it on an ANA flight on ANA Airlines. They have like, these videos about Japan, and I was watching them, and I saw this video. It's like, rice made in Tokyo, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my God, that looks amazing. And it said where to buy it, but it was where was it? It was way outside. It was like an hour from Ginza on the train. Let me see here. Tokyo. Where is it? I think it's called Morita. No. Where is it? Anyway, it was a long ride, and then I had to take a bus. Oh, I can't believe my pins are not showing. Oh, it's my saved. How about saved? Oh, you know, this whole Google Maps is not on the phone is not very cooperative. Yeah, here it is. Morita Ya Rice Shop. You can see this is Ginza down here, right? Tokyo is like here, right? Like this is where I normally stay, and it's way out here. So to take the train, I mean, it's still considered Tokyo region, but anyway, you go there and they have all this rice, and it's all made by local producers or like artisanal producers of rice, and they even have these little cards on each of the rice bins. There's a big display, very like specialty coffee, kind of like meet your producers of the rice, and then they show you the pictures of the guy and like the rice patties. You're just like, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I was like, this is awesome. I mean, I love rice, and so there's so many varieties of rice available, and so you order the rice. And then they've got the hullers, and they custom hull the rice for you on site. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, this is amazing. And they're like, and so I found the one that I wanted, the one that I'd seen the video about. And there's a couple others in the region. I was like, oh, I'm going to try those too. And so I said to the guy, I was like, how much do you want? I said, 5 kilos of each. Because I'm in Japan, right? I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to I got to stock up, right? And then I was like, oh. Then I thought about it for a moment. I was like, oh, wait. I was like, oh, chotomote. And because I was like, oh, yeah, because 5 kilos is like 11 pounds. I have just ordered 33 pounds of rice, and I have to carry it all the way back. This is the morning, and I've got a whole day planned to go around the city, and I'm like, I got to carry 30 pounds of rice from that. That's crazy. So I ended up getting just a kilo. I think I got a kilo of each. Or maybe I only got half a kilo of each coffee. Just a bit. It only was a kilo. It was a kilo of each. So I had 3 kilos of coffee, 6.6 pounds. And that was a lot more favorable to my journeying than. But Morita Ya Rice Shop. Now, Morita Ya is very nice. It's kind of far out. It's in what's the name of the city? It's Minami Ogokubo, but that's not the area. I think it's in Suginami area of Tokyo. But next door to it, or kind of across the catty corner from it, is this little shop called Pico Pico, and they had a little tiny bakery that made wonderful, it must be here listed. I just got to zoom in. Let's see, Pico Pico. They had this shokupan toast that they would bake with so basically they hollowed out they didn't take it. They just kind of depressed the center of the thick slice of shokupan, put an egg, and then put like a slice of cheese, or they first put a slice of, they put an impression in it, put the ham, then egg, then baked it, then cheese, and baked it again. Man, it was so delicious. So this is Morita Ya. Here it is. Pico Pico is right here on this corner. Oh, Puku Puku, not Pico Pico. And Puku Puku is this little bakery. Man, so cute little shop. But they had these wonderful little pastries or like baked goods, mostly baked goods, not pastries. I wonder if they have a picture or little sandwiches. Oh, here, that's the egg. That's the egg with the bacon, or that with the bacon, not ham, but bacon. I would make this at the Cafe du Spro. You can see that, and that's how I noticed it, right? Like here in the window, I saw these, and I was like, oh my God. because you got to walk past it to get to the bus stop. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go get that. And it was really good. I really liked it. It was like, so cute little place. And we're just going to this town. Oh, look at this. They have a little bit of caviar on the tamago, on the egg. Looks like egg omelet, and then a little bit of caviar, looks like. Or that could be nori. Well, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's nori. What do you think that is there, power plant? Anyway, yeah, that's that. I'm talking too much already. Power plant says not nationwide. Like, yes, agreed. Those are polishers. Hull would be different. Oh, is that because they have the hulls on them still, right? Well, I guess hull would be, if you're hulling it, you're threshing it, right? Is that right? Would that be right? I don't know. I don't know much about rice production. M0 says Korean Japanese cakes are wonderfully intricate and delicious. They're 100% different in a great way. I agree with that. And Power says the Koshihikari varietal is plentiful and invented in Niigata Prefecture. Oh, I didn't know that. Naomi says, were you there long enough to consume all the rice? No. I brought it back. I didn't eat it at all. I just shoved it in my bag and flew home. But is it legal to bring? I can't imagine that it isn't. I mean, I don't know. It is a dry product, so it's a grain. So it's not like, well, it could be curious. I never worry about it. I didn't even think about it. Power says, sounds like a bastardized khachapuri. Still nice though. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, you mean the sandwich, that little cake, baked toast. Kizami nori or shredded. Oh, okay, that's in the tamago, the egg. Naomi says, I used to love Japanese breads, cakes, and pastries. When I first visited the States as an adult, everything was cheesy and too sweet. Everything is cheesy here. I can't hate the cheese though. I can't hate the cheese. Powerplant says rice has an inner and outer jacket. When it's in the store, the outer jacket is removed and the inner must be. Oh, gotcha. Thanks for that. M0 says definitely the cakes are light. You don't feel literally heavy afterwards. Nice light. That is true. All right, now so one coffee, somewhat one brew method, two different kind of expressions. This one, and maybe the expressions are different because the actual brewing process has different quantities of water, 80 mils, 60 mils. That might be interesting to explore more. But that's essentially the modern espresso way. I mean, I'm generally a skeptic when it comes to brew methods, so bear that in mind when I make my comments about different brew methods. Like, oh, why do that? Just pour over it, be fine. But it's interesting. I mean, definitely with this coffee, this 16 grams, 80 mils, gives very bright, astringent notes. Really that kind of, if you like that light, bright expressiveness, this may be right up your alley for that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Naomi says, I love that it's fairly sweet. And Russell says, Redondo Beach has a Japanese bakery called Bread, Espresso, and Redondo. They specialize in these small square breads, not super. Oh, that sounds delicious. And Naomi says, I've just been brewing 22 grams of coffee in the Oxo and doing the bypass to make 2 12-ounce cups of coffee for us. Oh. How did you get that recipe? Is that something you came up with on your own? We're going to have to incorporate that into one of the future episodes, 22 grams, to see the different brew methods. All right, I'm going to wait. I was going to sign off, but now I'm going to wait to see what you say about that. Very nice. What if we did more bypasses? I don't necessarily need more bypass than this for this coffee. It would be ridiculous to add bypass to this. I'm only adding bypass to this because there's still this much pastry left. So these are these times when you're kind of running out of coffee. Like that's happened in a couple of videos, like the one we did in Tightrope in Cebu. And then that also happened to me at Un Puñado de Dólar. Un Puñado de Dólar. Puñado de Dólares. A fistful of dollars in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I find it to be very distressing to be eating a nice pastry and then to be running out of coffee. You're like, oh God. Especially when they go together well. And these are going together really nicely. I'm like very nice. I'm very pleased. Oh, just by taste. Okay. All right. I don't drink too strong coffee, and why I don't enjoy straight espresso. Ah, understood. Understood. Yeah, I don't think you have to enjoy a straight espresso or have to love it, you know. And maybe that's why these guys are brewing it like this and this modern espresso style, and then they're adding bypass to make it like regular coffee, Americano, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. All right. Well, that's the modern espresso. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today. It's very nice to see all of you. But back again tomorrow with another way to brew with the Oxo Rapid Brew. There's actually quite a lot of recipes out there for us to try. So if you guys start to get bored with like too much Oxo, just let me know. We can switch to something else for a day or two. All right, Kent, have a great one. Power Plant, Naomi, Russell, M0, all of you guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Always great to see all of you. And see you next time. And you too, Power Plant.